Okay, I pressed it. So the question was, have I got a contract with you? And obviously the answer is no, I haven't got a contract with you. And if they haven't got a contract with you, then they can't be obliged to perform. So 1160 has just rung me to see why I have not been responding to the emails. And it seems that I've got the same thing that he's got, which is unlimited excitement and jollification across the nation for this wonderful feeling of, what was it you said? You welcomed yourself back to life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and
It feels like I
we're
have to
talking.
welcome myself back to life. Like, you know what I'm saying? After everything gets aligned and you feel at one and centered.
So where I was saying this to somebody earlier on about, just before you rang actually, that they'd said, don't worry about today because you might be dead tomorrow. I said, you might even be alive yet. You might come to life tomorrow, I said. And then you said that about you and your belly button. And then I was laughing then after you'd said about your belly button, because that was in a vision, which is why we decided to record this, and for many other reasons as well, to share these things with everybody who's interested or can get to hear them. So after you'd said to me that I would see you in the Umpelos, I had this vision that was quite a wild one. And then as I came out of it, the ending of it was a little baby is a fetus and it had a ring on it, and the ring came off, and the voice in my head said, we're not bonded, we choose to come. And then I just
Said
from
what?
that
Your
point
voice completely cracked up on that.
that we're not bonded. So the ring, this little baby had a ring on, so you could see all the umbilical cord and everything, and the baby growing around the umbilical cord. Massive vision, and it had a ring on, and the ring came off with me as I moved away from it, and the voice boomed in my mind saying, "We're not bonded, we choose to come." Did you hear that bit?
Yeah, huh? Crystal clear.
And that's
Just
from
like in the
the
Ompolos, the green crystal.
Separation of this birth bond and the birth certificate that we have exposed, the underwriting and overwriting that was going on behind it. Might have abolished slavery, but you didn't need a slavery act, did you, when everybody's equally slaves? So all of this information that's coming out now about the birth certificate, a story really stood out yesterday. I nearly rang you up, but I thought you'd be with the little one, so I thought, well, he'll call me at some point when he's free. Was the words Treasury, hold, and account were in one headline, so I thought, oh, a keyword. So let's have a look at this story. And this is a story about somebody called Chloe Moffat. That's the title that they've used. Chloe Moffat was a girl that I helped, a title of somebody who was being held prisoner, and I wrote all her documents for her to go to court with. This cover story, is that this young woman works at the Treasury, and she was 10 out of 10, happy, living the best life, and she goes into work and they give her a surprise, no notice, adjudication, a hearing relating to her sharing data. And this was an anonymous complaint, and she hadn't been. So the story is, if she'd have known her rights, she would have walked in there, and they said spelt there everybody's rights out is set out in the Guardian under this headline. That if she'd have known her rights, because she hadn't been given notice of the claims or the claimant, and or as well as the fact that she could have somebody with her, an appropriate adult, or that she hadn't had time to get her evidence together, In other words, it's unsubstantiated claims gone out the window. It was being used everywhere using employment law as an exemplification because you were all bonded as slaves with your birth certificate, so that you were all being subjected to employment law and classed as cargo in the slave system. So whether you work for the Treasury or whether you work for Tesco's, whether you didn't have a job at all and you were on benefits, had this woman known her rights, then she would have walked in there and said, "I'm not having this meeting," and walked back out. In other words, that's what your consent is now. If somebody comes and lays a false claim against you, you haven't had time to prepare it, you don't know what you're being charged with, you don't know who it is who's the claimant, and you don't know what the potential sentence is, the outcome, then it's null and void. You don't have to engage with that as a condition. And so it's there. It's all spelled out relating to the fact that you do have these rights. Um, they'd used "I cannot confirm or deny." She asked them, "Will I lose my job?" They said, "I can't confirm or deny." So it was the whole packet. It was all of what they've been doing to people, whether you're in the Treasury working for them or whether you're being used as cargo inside and they're trying to get you to come and contract every day. They hadn't, because they hadn't let her know what she was being charged with, and the outcome state, then they were considered to have tortured her mind with the undisclosed rights. And then her family, her community, her family, people around started to question her then as to why she was being charged if there's nothing to, there's no smoke without fire and all that. So the family started to wonder, was she involved with a criminal act? Was it fraud? All sorts of things went round their heads, because why would someone do such a thing which was that she ultimately committed suicide? So you've got the Treasury that causes us all to commit suicide because of the environment that we're living in with the monetary system. The fact that you all suicided or killed off or presumed to have jumped in the sea and been lost for 7 years, 6 years, and there it is with Harry coming back in the 7th year. And so they start to, the excuses that people put around that, people killing themselves, or there must have been something wrong. Were they in debt is one of the questions that the parents are supposed to have asked themselves. However, they did manage to, which is one of the giveaway stories, access the emails of their daughter, which, unless this has come into force now and it's applicable to everyone, I know that they were trying to get it through because the next of kin should have the access, I believe, to the data of the deceased, that they've got power of attorney over, or next of kin, just so that they can get the truth about how these people come to feel like they can't cope and they need to kill themselves. And so there was a law about that that was getting passed to say that they could release the data relating to people who'd commit suicide to the next of kin. So I'm hoping that that's what this is exemplifying, that that's what they've been able to do. So they have got the emails, and they were talking, you could see that they were communications between her and her friends, talking about how happy she was and how she felt 10 out of 10. And I mean, it's a strange thing to say, that I'm 10 out of 10, but it's a nice saying.
Tell me about it. That's
So
something
then the
we would
question
think
is,
being in a resort.
then the question is, well, if you're 10 out of 10, why would somebody go and kill themselves? Well, because they were so distressed about this meeting and the outcome of the meeting and the fact that they'd done all of these things to her in this meeting. That, that's why they have a noose, take all your things off you as you're going to the prison, and then you can't have that because you might hang yourself, and there's a noose waiting for you hanging up in the window. or them coming to say, have we caused you enough stress that you want to kill yourself? Would you like a razor? Well, I can't even get a shower, but you're going to give me a razor. I can't change my food menu, but you're going to give me a razor. You're telling me what it is that this whole setup is designed to do, is to force somebody to feel that bad about their situation because they haven't been told what the charges are that they're being held with, or the undisclosed terms and conditions of the use of the birth certificate that the Treasury had been used to enslave us all through. And so the coroner, for the first time, was able to give a narrative. Normally, it's just one box ticked: it's death by suicide, manslaughter, murder, unexpected death, unexplained. They've only got a certain. They couldn't give a narrative or a build-up as to. They couldn't give a judgment as to the grounds of why they had determined that box is the one that we're going to tick for this record of the deceased, which obviously we changed all that with COVID not being able to be used for writing people off and saying that they've been hit by a car but they're dead because of COVID. Um, that the species case really all mingled into there. It's all of the cases anyway, because obviously it was all coming out of the Treasury by them using people as slaves. So the the outcome of the headline, the coroner's narrative, is
Right.
that the
You're
Treasury,
back. Oh,
the out
I couldn't hear you at all in the last 10 seconds.
the outcome of it is that the coroner has determined that the Treasury were materially responsible for the situation that led up to her death. That is the whole story strung
Right,
together
exactly.
in
Yeah.
one sentence. So
I think their bets
um,
on. Yeah.
everything that the Treasury represented as a mechanism in order for people to feel so bad about themselves imprisoned inside there using employment contracts or presumptions that they were employed is enough to get anybody, and the fact that they knock you off at 7 years old and then every 7 years, it is the whole story, and that's what the material is. They are responsible for all suicides. They're responsible for the death of the living, breathing being when it steps into acting as a corporate non-entity. And so it's splattered across the page in the Guardian yesterday. Um, and I went on to have a look. That they were treated with complete lack of empathy. The HM Treasury failed in its duty of care. No support, no reassurance, no fair treatment. She was left frightened, isolated, convinced her career and reputation were destroyed, and the family are going to take further action to honour her memory and seek the changes so this doesn't happen to anybody else, which is what we've done all of this for. So that's the notice that went up. That was on the 8th of the 8th. Sorry, the 12th of the 8th, which is the anniversary of one of the cases where they tried to get somebody to go to Crown Court using somebody else's legal fiction. So that we know that all of this coincides with all of these
Intertwined.
dates again. So
Mm.
and with all of these titles, we secured all of these titles, so we don't mind which ones are used to restore the rights, even including uh, Harry's, because Harry's been written up. I told you about this, didn't I? Harry's already listed in the restoration of rights that was served on them in 2024 over a period of 127 days. They got the lot. So remarkably rebutted, and here's the evidence why. Um, uh, and that if we do have to have, for the people who like pomp and ceremony, then we will have Harry with the crown on his head, and everybody will know that they're just acting a role, and that you all know that it's just because we haven't got any news today, so we'll put them on the channel and fill the slot. Everything's good. Here they come now, making fucking cakes, and you all stare at the TV, transfixed, as she chops up some kiwi fruit and puts it in a rainbow. Wow. So they're going to be acting in the role
Apparently,
of,
somewhere in Korea or somewhere, they've given every citizen of theirs $30,000 of their currency.
I believe.
Yeah.
Is that because it takes $30,000 worth of currency now to get a potato because the arse has fallen out of it? Did you see that? Did you see that? Where the dollars
No.
collapsed at the bond
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
markets?
Yeah.
Uh,
That has. That's been a long time coming in any case. It had to
well,
happen
that's
now
what was
because that's the example I was just going to give while you were saying that about how they're responsible for every suicide. It's like watering a plant and just keeping the water on so that the roots just, uh, you know, become useless. That
Look,
much
how
debt
many
in the
water
financial
like,
system, so it has to collapse now.
watering the plant and not giving it any. It's like planting the seed and then seeing the shoots come up and just not bothering with it. Pouring chemicals on it instead and
Yeah,
saying
no, like you
it's a
said,
bad.
the
I'm gonna
pretense of care, right?
I'm gonna gamble. I'm gonna gamble ten
Yeah, you
thousand
said the
thirty
pretense
pounds.
of care. So their care is like, okay, we're watering the plants, but we're just not finishing watering them. So we're not
It's like
allowing them to procreate, really.
I was reading through all the paperwork that I'd done in the last undercover exemplification against HMPPS using the
Mm.
title HMCIFRS, which is the inspector's title for HM Fire and Rescue and Police. And so that's what we did. I used that title and all of the paperwork that I was reading through yesterday from these many observations and first-hand experiences. They were showing. I came across the many things, including this. I was looking for this Chloe Moffat's name really, to see what date it was when I was writing other documents, and I came across the what you were just talking about there, relating to Charing Cross Police Station. And Charing Cross Police Station was on Channel 4 documentary in 2025 that was used to expose an undercover operation where they'd gone in with their cameras on, just like we did, and got themselves an undercover journalist to get a job as a copper. And this was the scene set. And it was all over the TV about how they've got all of these corrupt officers wearing uniforms and they're misogynistic carrying on in the background, about women that would come in saying that they were abused and their husband had kicked them while they were pregnant, and the chief of the custody sergeant is saying, "Oh, has she got a fucking footprint on her belly, has she?" And they were talking about how racist they were and all this. So anyway, that was the equivalent of the crisis in Ellas. And then the penny dropped, obviously. That's where because the assignment of consent that we've found that people have been using, for some reason, been usurped by Whitehall with that Whitehall address. Have you Googled it?
Yeah, so when I put that address into Google, it comes up as the RBS, Royal Bank of Scotland address
Yeah. Uh,
in
and
Westminster.
yeah, and that's and Charing Cross Police Station is the police station for that postcode.
Ah, right. Okay. So
Yeah.
I didn't even know because when I checked on the website, it had changed the address, and then I don't seem to remember, but we I whether we still had the 125 home suites or not. But I was like, I was in such bad state, like I couldn't even get out of bed. So I don't know. what happened there
I
in that
do. I
regard. I
remember
just
now.
like you just leave it.
I remember now, but I'm not going to disclose it. But I do remember it. And so and I only remember it by putting all of these things together. So I'm now sitting here yesterday looking for this woman's name that's in the. Okay, these are the breadcrumbs. So I'm looking for the woman's name inside the bundle that I created while I was inside to find out the date of that. And in doing so, found as I was reading it all about this Charing Cross police station that happened on the 1st of the 10th, 2025. And then 2 days ago, we found that some people had listened and put that address on the assignment, on the promissory note, on the exchange note. So indemnified that spot. So it indemnified that the postcode area to be able to exemplify the getting, look what we're doing, we're getting rid of all of the corrupt coppers, we're getting rid of all of the corrupt judges. So yesterday was quite a day. I was having a look. Well, there's 443 vacancies within the Ministry of Justice because it's been restructured from the inside out. So just in the MOJ, Ministry of Justice restructuring programme, there are at the moment 443 vacancies. One is called the Head of Additional Funding Policy, and they need somebody to go because the way that they were funding themselves is unlawful, and restructure their funding so that because the solicitors have been exposed for taking everybody's assets as probate, for example, and not dealing with the probate and then just earning massive amounts of interest on the value of the assets that they've got that they've really suspended the use of, and made themselves very rich that way. So Andy Burnham's program, also known as this Distima Reset program, is going to tax those. They're going to tax those accounts that have been used by the solicitors to make themselves fat. And so they're all running around screaming that, oh my God, Andy Burnham wants 25% of the interest, 25% of the profit of the interest of these people's assets that we've held in probate or have got in the client account. Damn right you need to be having a new funding structure. That's what you've been doing. So they're all screaming about him coming and taking the money that they shouldn't have in the first place. It's hilarious, really. So they've got a big thing. Just going back to that Treasury story, the Treasury have asked for feedback on how to handle concerns informally. And they want the feedback by the 23rd of the 9th so that they can put it in for making this new offer to us in October. So we'll have a new offer. HS2 won't be in that offer, and it'll be very specific. And then obviously the feedback, we'll give them the feedback. This is all part of it. Do you accept this? Let's have a look at it. No, we'll tweak it there a little bit. So that's very exciting. So we're going to give them the role in acting in the role of the Duke, to come and wear the Muppet Show crown. He's going to be responsible for. They'll all blame him then for bringing down the crown. The slavery exhibition. So today is a slavery exhibition opened up in Liverpool under the heading of overwriters and underwriters. So we were talking about this, about obviously, my contract is with Lloyd, said a woman, and she couldn't have said a truer word because all of our implied contracts have been with Lloyd's as slaves in their system, standing surety to their underwriting and overwriting of our rights. And it goes through about how they abolished slavery in this year, but this company carried on doing it. But it's just this company over here, and they only carried on for 13 years after it was abolished. Um, and but they recorded their slavery that had gone on 13 years after, and yet here we are, still enslaved by them. But it doesn't feel like that anymore, does it?
Yeah, it's getting better.
It's gone. I in my vision that I had this morning, I the I've got my fingers in the side of the crown looking for a heartbeat, and as I come out of my vision, it's like it just ain't got a heartbeat. The crown hasn't got a heartbeat. That's why it can't grow. It can't. It hasn't got. It's got 0.1% growth 1 quarter, and then it's got 0.1% no growth. It's fucking flatline, mate. That's what flatline looks like. So it has been quite. I was just saying to my friend, it's been. They have put on quite a show, and in their interpretation of really what it is that we have done. And I was just last night. I was ready to type some stuff, and I found the anathema. Have you seen that one? Mm,
Anathema.
anathema. So this document was created on the 21st of the 9th, 2024 if you're in Gregorian calendar, or if you're using Alphian Mega calendar, it was the 13th day of the first complete cycle that we had been counting 13 moons
Oh, oh, okay.
since, and adding the 3 other lots of the moons that we hadn't counted when we reset the clock at 211221 Gregorian time, and that became
Hmm.
0. Then we knew that there was the previous 13 moons before that that they hadn't counted, so there was one out of that cycle times 3, and then we started. Then once we'd done all of that and got to 2 1 no 2 3 3 2 3, that's when it became 0 1 0 1 0 1, first day of the first moon of the first cycle that we'd completed, with all of the time we added to the calendars and to the patterns, so that we knew where we were in relation to their corrupted uh, once upon a hypothesis called time. So um, this, shall I read it to you? It came from the Ministry of Remedy, and it says, Ministry of Remedy 2020 1000 /010, then it's got 9 lots of 10. Universally feasible opposite of defeasible, irrevocable universal dispelling of all that, in inverted commas, which is in conflict with universal law balance. Anathema maxima equivalent is hereby
Hmm.
invoked. Pactum singularis scalium PSC Article 124, Anathema 124.1. Anathema. When any officer of any society demonstrates complete contempt in refusing to obey and acknowledge the orders given within an anicetum decernere, final irrevocable judgment from the Ministry of Remedy, in this instance with the following actors, credit and titles as follows: His Majesty's Government, Crown Corporation, UK Government, the King, HMG, HMT, British Commonwealth, Glucksburg, Sonderburg, Holstein, Schleswig, Windsor, and House. House being chaos in Greek. And all agents and offices implied thereof, after the invocation of universal law, divine writ, or valid ecclesiastical deed, then such an officer shall be subject to the formal ritual of anathema, including but not limited to in the forbidding of holding any office whilst they are alive, and the complete removal of their name and positions held from all earthly records. This is the right to be forgotten. This is us deleting the data that they would have had to use to carry on compounding their historical claims again and again. Furthermore, when an alternate society demonstrates complete contempt in refusing to obey and acknowledge superior rule of law, then one or more positions of office may be subject to the formal ritual of anathema, banishing such positions of office or society at large from all earth records for future generations so they're never to be used again. So this is why we've got this new restructuring with new roles and new positions off the back of this for Fleming. There are therefore two kinds of anathema,
Yeah.
namely anathema, sorry, it keeps flipping up, namely anathema minima and anathema maxima. Pactum singularis Caelium 124.2 anathema minima. This is in brackets, guys, because we know that the Pactum singularis Caelium was next hypothesis for you to all fall in with your minds, which we've dissolved really and we've redefined as universal law. When an officer holder has clearly demonstrated contempt for divine law in accordance with this sacred covenant and has refused to cure and remedy their dishonour, having been duly served either an anicetum decernere, final irrevocable judgment or final notice, issued with the powers of Ministry of Remedy, then the gravest penalty of anathema may be issued. By this covenant, anathema minima means this man or woman shall be henceforth ineligible to ever hold office again, whilst being incarnate in flesh, even if they subsequently repent. Furthermore, their name shall be struck off from all public records and all official records as ever holding any official office for all time and all history, so that future generations shall never know that such an individual ever existed. As the erasure of an individual from living memory is the gravest of penalties for an officer who demonstrates utter contempt for the rule of law and the supreme jurisdiction of this covenant, it remains a penalty of last resort and a valid caution for other office holders or societies against such similar action. Anathema applies only to the flesh and name of the disgraced officer and not to their immortal being. We can't write you out of that book. That's not for us to decide. The anathema has no bearing on the individual's absolute right as a particle of source, nor shall it impact whatsoever their equality and rights in the hereafter. Anathema maxima 124.3. When an alternate society has clearly demonstrated contempt for divine law in accordance with the sacred covenant and has refused to cure and remember their dishonour, having been duly served either an anicetum decernere, finally irrevocable judgment, or final notice issued with the powers of the Ministry of Remedy (court), then the gravest penalty of anathema may be issued against an office of the society or the society as a whole. So this is what we did to them. We issued this against their cult, and that's why they came and did what they did following this. By this covenant, anathema maxima means this office or the society shall henceforth be illegitimate, shall be erased from history for all time. As the erasure of an office or a society at large from living memory is the most gravest of penalties for any office or alternate society, it demonstrates as a contempt for the rule of law and the supreme jurisdiction of this covenant. It remains a penalty of last resort and a valid caution for other office holders of societies against such similar action. 124.4. How an anathema is applied. An anathema is applied and enforced when the penalty of anathema is invoked with an anicetum decernere, final irrevocable judgment, or final notice issued with the powers of the Universal Law Community Trust in brackets One Heaven Supreme Court is the equivalent in their One Heaven system, and the deadline for cure
Yep.
or remedy passes. What? Have you got something to say?
No, no, no. Carry on, please.
Please carry on your freedom of expression.
No, I
Uh,
just said yes. Yeah, yep.
okay.
That is the highest court in the definition. So.
Um, you see, the reason, if we stop here, the reason why we've done that is the same reason why we made our in alignment with but not accordance to UCC. This is why if we're going to accord ourselves, this gets back to the plus the belly button. What is it in according to? What is it that you are later going to refer on or rely on as whatever it is that gives you the standing? And if you're going to go all the way, wind yourself all the way back to UCC or to acquiescence or any of their definitions, then you're back in the would be, I haven't got out the on philosophy, you're stuck in it.
Mm.
Uh, so, where do we get to? So, final notice issued, and the deadline for cure or remedy passes without restoration of honour by the officer concerned. It is not necessary for a formal ritual or ceremony to be performed thereafter, as such a notice is first registered as a spiritual document in the Great Register of One Heaven equivalent, and any subsequent printed document is merely an authenticated abstract. Therefore, the notice or final judgment has full spiritual life and shall self-execute if the deadline passes without cure or remedy. What you're doing there is you're spelling into the ether what it is that happens. You're countering the spell, and that's what this anathema is. So, it, thema in Greek is a victim. You are not. You are the opposite of victim. You're not going to take that. You're not going to play that role. And instead, what you're doing is you're ministering the particles that make up the picture in the reality that you experience. This is the level that we're talking about, where we're at, and you dispel what it is that they are trying to spell. Your mind already is aware that there is this going on. This is why you're seeing things the way that they're being projected onto you, and instead you're taking the responsibility of whatever it is that is. You don't need to know what it is. You just need to hypothesize in the same, in the opposite of the what's being hypothesized onto you, um, and putting your own definitions around that framework. And that's why we're seeing now the framework be restructured in our communities and our society because we changed the definitions of what the words that were being spoken. So they'd taken the spoken word and given it all of these different definitions, and we took it back and said, oh, spelt it like this instead. And that gives us a different definition of freedom, for example, where you unwind from your belly button and completely unhitch from wherever it is that you feel like you're bonded to. And you just got this unlimited, uh, extraordinary amount of universal source flowing through you. And you ring people up going, yippee, what are you doing? Like you just did earlier. And it's contagious. You can see it in the people around you. Hey, hey, even in the sky. Like, so and this is what we did. So how we knew that this was going on, well, in all honesty, we didn't. We just the judge said, what is your hypothesis? You would think I'm going to give you my hypothesis. Because you can't create one on your own without my
Yeah, no
hypothesis.
imagination.
Without my hypothesis, you don't exist. I'll hypothesize that you don't exist. How about that? That's my greatest wish. Um, So, and then they call you a nihilist, and because you said that you believe you wanted them to be nothing. Um, so then what have we got? Where did we get to? Uh, the penalty of anathema. Okay. By this covenant, anathema means this office or this society shall henceforth be illegitimate and shall be erased from history for all time, as the erasure of an office or society at large from living memory is the most grievous of penalties for all office or alternate society that demonstrates utter contempt for the rule of law and the supreme jurisdiction of this covenant. It remains a penalty of last resort and a valid caution for other office holders or societies against such similar action. I read that bit. How an anathema is applied, we did that bit, didn't we? Therefore, the notice of final judgment has full spiritual life and shall self-execute if the deadline passes without cure or remedy. That really was to rebut their presumption of an either way. They called the cases either way. So when I went to do a little exemplification, and they said that this is an either way case, that either way you fucked. Yes, that's what I said. Either way you fucked. That's what you've got it set up for. And so that was to rebut their either way you fucked hypothesis.
It's so irritating that they're so nonchalant about it as well. It's just there's no shame.
Well, you should have seen. I wish we had the recording of what went on there with their chief prosecutor in the venue known as the Leeds Magistrates Court that day. Well, it happened over 3 days. It was hilarious. But I'm sure we can get them now. We've taken the jurisdiction of the data.
Mm.
We have the donor that is the owner, and the donor is the owner, and they have the rights to have that data back wherever it is, which is what we're talking about. Deep diving into the content, because it was the definition of the titles and the accounts that they'd used in their titles of accounts that were preventing us from being able to access the content, because you had to guess what title or data cohort they'd used to capture your data, with literally telling you what it was. And if you have bits of energy and they captured you in their network in ways that you don't know, because the titles that they've used to account for that capture have been corrupted and fabricated, then how could you free yourself from there if you didn't know what name it was that they played, that they'd hidden your rights behind today game? So 124.5, invalid and unlawful anathema. An anathema is considered unlawful and invalid if it is issued by a society or officer not having valid authority under universal law. Such claims shall be considered invalid curses, and that all such actions shall be immediately returned upon the maker of theirs heirs with interest ab initio from the beginning. So this is reverse charges. So all of the charges that were laid after this point were automatically reversed upon the party making them, and their heirs. Their heirs can do something about it. Don't worry about that. Furthermore, an anathema is considered invalid if the reason why that's there is because everything that we do, we contaminate that line of energy that our ancestors are part of, that was just this long stream of energy with data and information and characteristics and all of this amazing capacity to create inside it. And if you automatically inherit the liabilities that have been compounded by your forefathers and your forefathers. And so this is a way of being able to discharge all of the curses that they would like you to call history and continuously claim and compound for them if you believe. But to make it so that the heirs, the next generation, have an option. They've got consent back. They've got the right to contract or not contract. They've got the distinguishing definitions between a birth bond and a birth certificate. Now all they need to do, which is what they're doing with these exhibitions, is explain and teach you all about what it was that we've been trying to teach you all, about the underwriting mechanisms and insurance and the financial markets and all of that. That's the level that we're at, or the depth of to the bottom of the barrel we've had to go, and where we're at now, pulling all of that data out through this. An anathema is, let's take, furthermore, an anathema is considered invalid if issued against an existing valid office or lawful society. Is hereby pronounced that all anathema and curses issued with the effect of anathema prior to the day of universal rebuttal, in the form of universal injunction, are hereby rendered null and void, with all such curses returned upon the makers and their appointed heirs with interest, without mercy or immunity. Furthermore, any pronouncement of anathema thereafter the day of universal rebuttal, not issued contrary to covenant of one heaven, i.e., universal law, its definitions, shall have no spiritual, moral, or legal effect, and shall be null and void from the beginning. 124.6 Valid anathema. A valid anathema issued by this universal law covenant is not a curse, as the demonstrated contempt by the officer refusing to obey and acknowledge rule of law is a self-curse issued by the individual against the law itself, this covenant in united heaven. Therefore, the valid anathema is a return of that curse and contempt issued by the officer in the form of presentment, thus completing the curse first issued openly and knowingly by the disgraced officer, not those ministering universal law or those who have secured their connection to universal law as their source. Anathema is ministered in loving kindness to protect from victim state being implied to be real hereafter this day, which was 1301, 13th day of the first count that we did Alpha Omega for. So,
Yeah, I remember this. I remember reading the whole thing.
did you read that? Have you had a copy of that?
Yeah, I have.
Well, what we're seeing now is the effects of that, where this reverse charges, where they, where the whole system's collapsed.
Yeah, I was able to figure out a lot of things to do because of that, like
And
train of thought.
say again.
Just like train of thought as to what to, because you were inside at that time as well, like
No, I
around
wasn't.
then. No, like after as well.
Yeah, they came. That's
So
when.
just,
So we
yeah,
put
so
them
the
on
times
notice
that you
that
were
they're.
incommunicado, then,
Yeah,
to keep the train of thought going, this is what sort of set it in motion. So it's like back to basic sort of thing. So just read it again and it sort of makes sense again.
well, it's 20. That was written on the 21st of the 9th, 24 in their Gregorian calendar, and um, that's one of these key points, key dates uh, that are quite that keep cropping up. Um, the even down on that Chloe Moffat story, her judicial review, her adjudication was on the 19th of May. That's 10 days after the 9th of May. That's the date that they tried to get the 1471. Well, they did get him in, and me, obviously, but we didn't go. And then you've got your 10 days on top of that for your bank holidays from the previous calendar, from the previous 12 months. And that's why we had the Irish guy saying, well, isn't the first 3 quarters just counted as one in the ledgers, in the financial accounting system? He actually sat there and said that in a review
Well,
that they were doing, yeah, it was on the BBC. Couldn't believe.
meaning take all your rules of accounting and just throw them away.
Another, no, it's just disclosing the truth. They said to him, "Why haven't you got this report ready?" And it was supposed to be ready in the first quarter, for the first
Mm.
quarter. And he said, "Yeah, but isn't the first 3 months from April classed as 1 quarter? And it'll be ready in this quarter, but it won't finish this quarter yet because it's 3 months long." Is really what he's saying.
Yeah. Okay.
But
Sorry, sorry.
so
Yeah.
that's the 90 days. You see, they were able to
Mm.
take
Yeah.
90 days out of every year, every cycle, every bit of time that they called a year. Could take 90 days out of it, and front and back, and hold you for 6 months. But I found out that they were holding people 3 years on remand. They've come out and admitted this in the papers, and they've also put into. I didn't know, but when we'd written the Dismo reset, and specifically these things to do with how to deal with the overcrowded prisons and stuff, they chemically castrated paedophiles and sex offenders. They've been running in 24 to 25. So we wrote in 24. In 24 to 25, then there's been a program in some of these prisons where they've been chemically castrating prisoners. That I found out yesterday. And so they're going to roll that out. There's 3,750 of them that have said that they would be party to it to get out.
No.
But it's obviously the medication.
Mm.
The medication has to be kept up. So yeah. So there's just by leaving it. You see, that's why I've been on doing anything in the last
Mm.
ever in the last 12 hours. 24 hours was because it was time for just doing this pause to let everything come in. So if you leave a space for everything that you've done to catch up with you, then um, uh, you get to compound that, and then that's a lesson that I've learned. Is instead of just keep going, keep going, keep going, it never catches up with you. So you have to stop, let all of that catch up, and then take your next step up. And that's why they have, holidays, bank holidays. So it's going to be interesting this bank holiday when they haven't got anything in there, and they're going to try and carry forward whatever it is that they've got this bank holiday across to give them the compound as interest to stand their budget upon for October. And I'm a bit concerned because some Tory said, well, I like Andy Burnham because he's capitalist. So that's what he said. But that's what they would do, wouldn't they? They would say that, just like, the things that they've said about us. Um, don't listen to what she's got to say because she will. She's going to run off with your house and in your boat and sit on the beach with your passport somewhere. So,
Mm.
anyway,
Ironically, same stories here as well. I'm going to steal the houses.
it's
Yeah.
all they've got. That's all they've got in there.
Meaning,
That's all.
yeah, just one guy is going to run around and start stealing houses. Yeah. Put it in his ledger and make sure it means something when nobody else agrees with him. Yeah, exactly.
And he's going to go and live in them all as well. He's going to come. Not
Mm.
only
He
that,
is.
where he's going to come and he's going to kick you out of your house. In fact, maybe maybe that is what
And
he does.
everyone's just going to let us do that. Yeah. It's just so
No, I mean,
plausible.
the end. If you are secure party on the King's Men and you're on with these titles, and you did say if you commit commerce, then you're going to be back in the hands of the commercial system, and they did. Then only the ones that haven't, and they have some have fallen back in and gone, but and also come out again. Not all of them that have fallen in there have stayed in there, and the ones who stay in there and try and drag other people in the hole with them are the worst. Instead of getting themselves out of the hole, they want to stay half in, half out, and drag the others in, and turn around and say, "We're not all like you." No, you what of somebody whose convictions mean something. No, I can see that you're not like that. You're half in and half out the hole, and now you're having a go at me because I'm not like that. Wow. I'm going to get in the hole with you and go, oh, yeah, let's all go sign on. So, and
Yeah, I know exactly how that feels.
then you're bastardized because you don't. After you came and got
Exactly.
involved with me because I didn't, and now you're having a go at me because I won't. Or you're just the same as the fucking guard at the door screaming all of these things that they scream about. I was reading about how they were trying to manipulate me every day with the food and just the sick tricks that they got up to. And you can see from my writing and I'm writing about I can hardly keep my eyes open, they've drugged me, and you can't read the rest. So all of that, that they did. There's a part of me as I was walking down the road with the little dog the other day, and I'm thinking, and then there was this, and then they did that, and then they did this, and then suddenly this other bit came to the fore, and I just went, yeah, but what did you expect in Malacca? Did you think they were going to come and give you organic veg? No, you knew what
Uh,
it was going to be.
big,
You
big
knew what
kiss, nice clothes, nice natural food. Yeah, no, not happening there.
did you knew what it was going to be. You knew you weren't going to be able to make a phone call.
Yeah,
And so this
exactly.
other part
And
of
you just
me,
make the best out of it, right?
the other part of me just went, and look what you did with it all. Look what, but just by
Yeah.
exchanging a bit of time and keeping yourself out of being presumed to be in contract or consent with this shit. Look what happens. You're walking down the road, buzzing, and you can go anywhere, anytime you like, whenever you want, and nobody can stop you. That's freedom, that. It's only yourself that stops you. So then there was the EES system failure on the news today. So the airport mechanism that they've tried, because we won't have digital, we won't have an ID card, so they pretend that the passport's not one now. And so they've got everybody who's going on holiday to put their fingers in the fingerprinting machine and have their eyeballs taken. So there's hilarious stories about these people who've set up to gone to one country and had their fingerprints taken, and then they leave another country. So the system is still counting down the 90 days that they're allowed to be in Europe for, but they're actually trying to tell the EES system that actually they didn't stamp my passport on my way out, and you only took my fingerprints on the way in, right? So this is what they were doing. Europe is doing, everybody, taking your fingerprints and laundering you and your accounts while you're not even there, but for indemnification purposes. So even when you've left, you can go in, give your fingerprints, and leave, and they're still using your title and your name. And this is what this guy was saying, that he's checking to see how many days he's got left on his allowance, and it's still being counted down, so that you can stay 90 days in a 180-day period. And they're saying that he's still there. They haven't accounted for him leaving. And so this is the case that made them do to me, to show everybody this is what they're doing to all of you anyway, um, which is duplicating your data in different jurisdictions so that they can imply that you've got some kind of tax liability, or to put always overstayed is welcome and put a border force, international red notice they're called, up to say that you can't go back into that country because you overstayed your welcome. This is where everybody's going to realize that obviously you can't trust the data. So some other people had gone and they're lining up and they stand there in these long queues and they put their fingerprints in, and their eyeballs are all over the place. That hasn't taken a picture. And they can't match the eyeballs to the fingerprints, and they can't match the fingerprints and the eyeballs to the title, and we know why. But this is their cover story, is the reason why. And one lady, she's got a problem with her eyes. She's blind. She doesn't know where to look, so they can't take a picture of her eyeballs. Is the story. And so they all had to, after lining up and trying to get their fingerprints into this machine for hours, they then decided that, oh, we'll just go and line up over here at the kiosk instead. Just go to the kiosk, people, where the little guy is standing. That's what this is showing you. You cannot trust the electronic version of data being recorded about yourselves. It doesn't even work in the process because these companies, states, organizations not communicating between themselves. There's no centralization because they can't. Because when they get to when they get to cross-reference uh, the EES systems data Italy with that at France, and that between England and the implied state of Greece, it all goes tits up. That's why they can't centralize it, because there's 8 bits of data in there that they have used to create fictional titles with, so that they could pretend that there were multiple people. They're creating multiple legal fictions of the same donor of the data. So they take the fingerprints of one of you and multiply it with 10, 20 a million different accounts, and that's what this is proving. So you can just see it all imploding. And then even Putin's come out and said, in agreement with us, that they've opened Pandora's box, but this time hope is burst out of the box. So we've got hope out instead of hope being left in the box this time around. So um, mm, it's all very good, and I would ignore the negative spin and the everything's a crisis. Have you seen? Have you heard them? Oh, it's a crisis about this. It's a crisis about this. The weather. It's hot. It's a crisis. It's cold. It's a crisis. It's we're on fire. It's a crisis. It's raining. It's a crisis. What the fuck? Why have we just got so used to calling life a crisis? I have no idea.
Everything's converted into a crisis. Yeah,
So because they can insure
they're all
themselves
just
on
cover
this,
stories, I think.
huh?
Yeah, exactly. Just so that the people go crazy, reinsuring themselves over absolutely nothing.
And you can't anymore. You can't insure yourself. If they're showing you that, you can't insure yourself against. There's no point in having any insurance because one, they'll turn around and tell you that it's fake. Two, they'll tell you that you're not covered for the thing that you thought you were. And three, even if you've ticked all them boxes, they'll just pull the act of God out on you. And before you know it, you the guy who drove his
Yeah,
car into you
they'll get to know that soon enough because the insurance has gone through the roof. Nobody can afford it, and
has done it with these buyers. So the people who have had their houses supposedly set on fire. Um, one of them being the Bishop of Dudley. Um, was they were told that they couldn't get insurance because it was an act of God. So one buyer up in Stoke, they said no, they got two people for it. Well, aren't two people an act of God then? Didn't God create the people that create the fire? So this is the point. They can use acts of God across anything. They can turn it into that. Uh, so the fact that they've got an excuse of act of God, they're now going to have to prove that God exists. So that's what's gone into the FCA to get the evidence of that. If you're going to use act of God for reasons not to pay the people out, then the burden of proof that we restored that
really,
from COVID.
they
Yeah,
want an evidence of what created life. Huh?
no,
Excellent. Good luck.
no, wait. They're saying we can't pay you because it is an act of God. We've said go and prove God exists then if you're going to use it in claims.
Yeah,
That's what we.
that's what I said. So the creator of everything living is what they want to prove.
Well,
Is what they have to prove, right?
I don't know what their definition of God is. So that's what they've got to establish first. And
There you
then
go.
I and I don't accept your definition of God because I'm going to make you prove that too because I might pull you out and say 1160 said it was, what did you say? Creator of the universe. That's what they're
Oh,
screaming
like
at me.
everything living.
I'd prove it. They're screaming at me in the police station. God created the universe, not the universe created God. Therefore, God is greater than universal law. Well, now prove it. What? Fucking prove it. Are you making an unsubstantiated claim without proof? My name is Demetrius Dimitropoulos. Prove it. My mother. And he did the finger in the circle at me. Did that to my mother? I said, how do you know? Were you there? That's when he killed me in the cell and slammed the door on me. And then they sent
Yeah,
me
I
in.
was having a conversation with
He's
people today,
American.
and I got them exactly at that same spot. Like prove it. Can't.
And it's just simple logic. It's not even being rude or facetious. It's just making people hold a mirror up to themselves and say, listen to the stupid claims you're making. Listen
Yeah,
to
and
all
then
this.
they say, and then at the end, I just got one response that, yeah, but this is convenient, right? So I was
What
like, there
is?
you go. This life, this thinking, this dissolved thinking.
And when you split the word up, convenient, however way you spell it, it's not very nice. There's no cheese, right, in the shops. There's no feta cheese because they've been arguing over the definition of feta rather than admitting the truth that anybody can make feta cheese. They have to be in a lass to call it feta cheese. And if you would just call it cheese, do you know what I mean? So we've been looking at getting some. So everybody's running around, can't get cheese, and so I've just had a look, and for the same price that you'd pay for, I think it's about 50 grams of cheese, £3.54 here. Then, and it's organic. You could buy 5 litres of organic um, goat's milk and make your own. Do that and a bit of lemon.
Exactly.
What's up with you guys?
Yep.
It's that
Yeah.
simple. And so the hold that has been put on the supply chains that have been using things that they shouldn't have been using, that should have been secured, that they have quickly harvested in order for them to be able to sustain themselves from the securitization to now, that's run out now. And so that's what their problem is that they've got, because they can't use what they were using before, do what they were doing with before. And so we've got a massive restructuring program going on. I'm very happy to say I might go and offer myself up as the head of additional funding policy because I don't know where else you're going to get any from if I don't do that job. That's all. Where else? What are you going to do? What are they going to do? Where are they going to get additional funding from?
But they can't. But
Oh,
they can't make any additional funding.
that's why the dollar, and the bonds of the dollar,
They're
the value
stuck.
of the
They're
absolute.
stuck. There's no more remedy left. The Japanese carry trade just collapsed in any case.
And America is going to absorb Canada, and Canada will turn around and say that we want a benefit of being a US state today. What's the benefit of being a US state? And well, you always were. You're just pretending
Yeah,
not.
we will keep continuing our fake wars
Yeah, it's all
out
gone.
of nothing and call it self-defense and bomb the whole world. Yeah, and
Yeah, and say, oh,
it's
look
such a
over there at those
failed
terrorists. Oh,
concept.
the definition of terrorist. Did I tell you about that in relation to these people, these protesters? There was Barclays Bank. Did I tell you that the other day?
No,
There's so Barclays Bank were what did they? There was a terrorist. They'd said they were terrorists. They were protesters protesting about Barclays Bank's involvement with manufacturing weapons that Israel had been using and stuff. And so the terrorists, so they tried to charge them with terrorism. But so they've defined that the Barclays Bank situation, where there was 200,000, it cost them 200 grand, isn't defined as terrorism. But the where they've gone in and hit a policewoman with a sledgehammer, they wanted to say that that was terrorism, but they're having to have a review on that as well. Because when you're a terrorist, that's what we said in the universal injunction and writ, is that you can't go around call anybody terrorist when you're doing this, operating a slavery system, blah blah blah, which is what we wrote, which caused what it is that everybody's seeing now. So yeah, it's pretty cool, pretty cool. So well done.
Um,
Oh,
well done to
the
you.
thing,
Yeah.
the thing what they'd said, they went about Harry coming back. One of the one Daily Mail newspaper had said there is not a laundry big enough in the cosmos to clean the dirty laundry that he has had about his family. Now, if you go back to 2022, those are the words that I've said about them. That there isn't a laundry big enough in the universe to clean their terrorism anymore. except this can spread it. So they're now reciting me and these keywords again in all of these different places. So it's quite funny, really, to hear them saying these words. But finally, you know that the truth's out there, that's it. So we can just go and sit in the garden with the tomatoes, which is what I was doing instead of answering emails. So sorry
Yeah.
about that. Sorry about that, boss. Will I get my
What?
wages deducted? Will I get my wages deducted now?
As if you needed any. But they're just getting a little pensive over here about starting their process again and stuff like that. So
Well, they're not starting the process again, are they? They're just getting a piece of paper that says what it should have said to help them with their mind. That's all they're getting.
yeah, exactly. They're just waiting for that so that they can send it to the bank and be done with that.
Right, okay.
There's a few AOCs that are there, and like they've been there for the last week, I think. The people who sent it before we started, before the trust sent them the new AOCs, yeah, those
All
guys
right,
were waiting.
I
That's all.
did see that there were quite a lot, and
Yeah.
I'll do them tomorrow.
Yeah, no, no, no. Meaning, take your time. I've told them that you're obviously busy doing. Look at what you're doing.
Nothing.
So if it takes a day or
Just
so, then fine. And plus, yeah, you need yourself time to yourself as well. That's okay. No problem. Like one day or something like that. I just told them
also
that I'm standing surety. No, like it's just for them to calm down because I know you're gonna respond at some point. So, or the trust will respond at some point. So, yeah. I was like,
some
you've got my number. You just call me if anything happens. If anyone comes with a claim, if you need it rebutted on security.
right.
So, what's the problem?
Right, I've just seen something else has just popped out at me on my notes, so I'll go and do that, and then do
Hmm.
some. I'll go do some emailing. Right, my lovely. So I'll speak to you
All right,
later.
love.
All right, thanks for that. I'll speak to you
Will
soon.
do. Have a
Bye.
good